Bienvenidos and welcome to Nuestro Papi, a podcast series about my grandfather, Pedro Enrique Prado Pina. And today we have Papi here live, and we're going to be exploring Papi's coming of age years, basically from age 13 to 18, which begins really in 1956. Papi, tell us, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling great. It's a beautiful day here in Florida. The temperature is about 70 degrees. You can't ask for anything better. I'm very, very happy, the whole family, with the newborn
¿Y cómo se llama this newborn baby, Papi?
Marco Emmanuel. He was born a week ago. So today his birthday. Like Pedro Julio, nephew Pedro Julio says, he nació criado, which is an expression in Cuba that when he was born, it looks like he was already older. And it's beautiful. Yes, he looks. We took him to the doctor yesterday, and he passed all the tests: lung, the heart, the eyes, the ears. I mean, everything. So,
Well, Papi, I think that brings your total number of grandchildren to 11.
11.
It's 11. Wow, Papi,
Yeah.
I would say that, well, your genes have been passed down.
Yes, they have, and makes me happy to see that they are all over, flourishing, starting their own life. So that's a good feeling, being this old and see all that happen.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I look forward to being in your shoes someday.
Takes time.
Well, as you know, Katie and I have been married 10 years, and so we've taken our time to build a foundation. Well, Papi, let's talk about you and your experience growing up, essentially. Madurando, as we're going to be calling this capítulo, or this episode here today, which is our fourth episode. So when I say madurando, I'm talking like a plantain, you know? You're starting to grow up. You're going from your green little baby self, and you're turning more into this nice, sweet plantain. So with that, Papi, I have a set of questions today. In the past, we've talked about Ciego de Avila. We've talked about your early years, your ancestors, really painted the picture. But today, we really want to dive into your coming of age time, again, from age 13 to 18. And with that, I have some questions. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So this question here, Papi, is about maturity, like madurando, hence the name, maturing. So I guess I'm curious to hear if you were to reflect back on your life, when did you start to feel that you were growing up?
Yeah, I think it's around that when you are 13, 14, you start seeing things different. You're not a kid anymore. And since then you go into what is called la secundaria in Cuba, that high school. You meet other people and you expand from the little club of your friends around the block, and the school that you go that everybody go at the beginning. And so now you have new people to meet and things like that, and your world start expanding. So that's when you start seeing things a little different.
Yeah, so secundario, which school did you go to, and how old more or less? How does secundario work in Cuba when you were there?
Well, there's a school that is the Ciego de Ávila municipio that is a public school. And then there was one that is private, they call the H.H. Maristas, that is a Catholic school. And that's the one I went my high school years. I started there on the 6th grade, and then you had to take tests in the Catholic high school and take also the test at the public school. But the Maristas, they give you, similar to the Jesuits, a very basic education that you have that you start expanding your mind and your thinking. What's very important for the Catholic school when they have is to expand your mind and challenge you. And my toughest grade was Spanish. I had a hard problem with that. I don't know why. Math, I was good. History, geography, chemic, everything else. But when it comes down to Espanol, I don't know why. I guess it was because the brother that teach that, he had a very thick Spanish accent that maybe I got confused with that and all of that. So, but it was funny. But I read a lot of books. I'm always been, like that since I was a kid. So I knew my Spanish was okay, but, all the accentuation and punctuation and commas, and maybe I was not that good at that.
Yeah, you're probably maybe bored too in that class. Maybe
Yeah.
thinking of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear that. It's funny being here in Spain, and I come with my own dialect, you could say, that's a little Cuban, a little Mexican, a little American. It's, with a little Spanish in it, and everybody comments on my Latin American accent. And the Spanish here and all throughout Spain is very different. And even in some places, they don't even speak Spanish. They speak Euskera, Gallego, and Catalan, among
Catalan.
other languages. So it's been a unique experience. I can't imagine growing up in Cuba with the Cuban accent and then having to listen to the Spanish accent because it really is different. And
Yeah.
so, Papi, now as you started to mature, you talked about how you started to maybe see life differently. You started to maybe focus a little less on maybe that small group of friends down the block. How did that change the way that you lived your day to day life from maybe the things that you did or the thoughts that you had and whatnot?
Yeah, well, you still keep your friends around where in La Cuadra, you call it the block and the area that you are. But then, like I said, you have new friends. So then I start playing some baseball, and we used to play front, not like front on, but it's that you hit the ball against the wall, a big wall, and I think it was front on. And we had a great time doing that. Then we started playing basketball, and that's when I really, and then that group was more cohesive, and we used to get together and play dominoes together. I mean, I'm at a table with 10 people playing domino. I mean, you only can get 5 or 6 of those domino chips because we have fun. I mean, we were kids and we have fun. So, but I had my friends from around the block, and then on the weekend we used to go to my uncle's farm, 3 or 4 of us, and go around and try to hunt birds, and and did our own activity. Go out at night and go to the Central Park, Jose Marti, and that noticing girls, noticing the girls, and I say, oh well, this is nice. So you walk around and you see somebody and you wink at your eyes, and you wink back, you can go and talk to them. So that has happened. Then my sister was very involved with a lot of music, and she was also going to the Catholic school for girls, and she used to have a lot of parties. She was famous for pericos ripiado. I mean, all of a sudden they get on the phone and they call each other, and 5 or 6 come in, and they come in and start playing. And a lot of the American music was the rock and roll was just coming out, and so we had a lot of fun and parties and things like that. I mean, a couple of times a week, and so that's you start having fun. And one time when I was sick with hepatitis, there was a group in a hotel, Santiago Habana, in Ciudad de Avila, that was playing an American group called Rockefeller. They played rock and roll. So my friend Armando Seara worked there in the hotel and brought it over so I can listen to them. And there I was sick, and we have pictures in when they come in and play inside the house, and all the people came in, the neighbors and things like that. So we had a great time. So I have good friends that although some of them went in a separate direction when Castro came in, we're still, we were friends for kids, and that you never forget.
Some of these stories are starting to come back too that you've shared over the years. But one thing I'm curious because I'm somebody who's also enjoyed to go to parties, and I had my girlfriends in high school and growing up and whatnot. Do you have any stories of girlfriends that you had back at this point in life that you want to share?
What is that song from Sinatra? Regret, had a few. Then again, I have a lot to remember. No, I had, when you start meeting girls, and my sister was always bringing girls out to play, and so she encouraged me, and hey, this girl likes you, so. And I had a nice relationship like that, but I remember, one in high school that called Hilda, and she liked me, and I could go and play pool. The Maristas were closed then by the Castro government. They got rid of all the Catholic schools, and I had to end in the high school, regular high school of the Ciudad de Avila. And at the end of the block, there was a pool place, and I used to go and play pool there, and then she did all my chemics and tests and things like that for me. So, but it was, you can call it, just a relationship, I don't see. But, you meet girls and you go and dance with them and things like that, but there was never some close relationship because the revolution was on, and the main thing was now in your mind was different. So you lose a lot of your teenagers year when there's a situation like that all of a sudden you have to be afraid of what you say, who you talk to, and things like that. Your mind is different. We were able to enjoy a part of that because we were allowed for a while to have the American music, but all that changed. That after 2 or 3 years, it was really an iron situation, and you couldn't do that anymore. But we had a lot of fun when as kids, and parties, and it was fun. Some memories, they will sometimes they come back in dreams, sometimes they come back in real life because you see something, hear music, and say, "Oh, I remember this." So I remember when the revolution won in January 1st, 1959. I used to have a radio antenna that I could listen to the shortwave, they call it, communication. And then I got one that was a Say Barbudo Feroce, go to Havana. And that was Castro telling Camilo Cienfuegos to go to Havana with his troop. And say Barbudo Feroce, go to Havana. And I run across the street to where my uncle Nando lived to tell him what I've been listening. And when I was going to start running, a police car went by and I had to walk slowly. I remembered, but I got to it and said, I think something is going on. And this is when we heard that the Batista had flown out of Cuba and the revolution was taking over. So it was, and that's impacted all of us. We were happy that we see, and the Castro was promising all kind of things of elections and this and that, and I remember when the troops were, some of the troops were coming in. We brought them and we had a party at home for them, and they had the guns, and I had to hold a machine gun, and we got pictures of that too, and we had a party. Girls and boys came over, of my friends and things like that, and here, because my house was always a party house. My mom always loved that to see that we were having things here instead of going somewhere else. So it was a magnet, and we get a great support from my mom and dad in that regard. So right away we have them over, and I remember that it was a great time, and we were so happy. Unfortunately, didn't turn out the way we hoped.
Yeah, I'm curious now that we're on this topic, but to go back just a little bit before that, because I remember you sharing stories that there was a time when the revolution was happening. Again, this is while it was happening. So of course you didn't know what was going to happen next. It was all one day at a time. But there was a time when you were involved in helping sell war bonds.
Yeah. Those are before that. When we were growing, in school, we talk about it. Really situation because during the Batista government there were some abuses that were happening, and even though when we get together in Jose Marti Park. We could see that we had to be a little more careful, and we go out at night, and our parents said you have to be here by 11 o'clock, don't stay late, because a lot of things were happening, and we heard about it, and we know some friends that got in trouble. So we have that kind of that fear coming up. So what we did then, we were selling bonds to different business. Another person that helped us say, okay, go to that place and take a bond, they're going to give you some money. So we take one of those vinyl long plates that has a cardboard, and the record is in the middle. So we put the bond inside. We were kids that we always were exchanging album to play music. And we walk to the business and give it to the guy, and then the guy give us the money, put it in the rig, and we take it back. And we raise money for the revolution that way. My uncle, Nando, when the troops were close to Ciego de Avila, he used to have he had a distribution food truck, and we used to go there, and he used to take their boots and food and, whatever he could to the fruit that was donated by other people and by him, and so the support, the youth people, the young people like us were supporting a change in Cuba, because definitely we were not happy. So, like I say, our teenagers here were disrupted by Batista and by Fidel Castro. Both.
One thing I've never asked you, but what were those things that you wanted to see change?
Democracy, that you're going to have an elect president, but the main thing to have the freedom to talk, because that's what we wanted, but you got to be afraid. On the Batista time, if you talk too much, they put you in jail, like some of my friends, and So then Castro came in, and the beginning was okay, and then all of a sudden, hey, you have to follow what Castro said, or you're out of here, or you go to jail, or you go executed, or you could become a communist. And I said, I'm not going to be a communist. So that's what happened. All the young people, that's all of a sudden we opened our eyes and said, this is not what people were trying to, be for it and be part of it. Some of my friends did, and they stayed, and they belonged to the revolution, went into and joined them. I did. A bunch of us, we did. We left Cuba.
I'm going to ask this question a little bit later for you, but when did things start to feel like they were changing and you started to feel deceived?
Oh, right away in the 6 months when he said, we're going to have election in 6 months. And then he didn't do it. Then when the students in Havana, in the University of Havana, start, protesting against that, and they got into the University of Havana, and they were with arms, and then Castro got on the phone. Armas para qué? Weapons for what? We don't need it. This revolution belongs to the people. And convinced him all to go there and take the arms away from the. Then he took over. Then the press, they started shutting down one newspaper at the time. It was very smart because he never attacked everybody at one time. He attacked one religion, not all. The other was okay. And then after he controlled, 2 or 3 months later, another religion. Same thing with the agrarian reform. Why have 20,000 hectares of land? It should be 5,000. So everybody on the 5,000 say, yeah, that's right, that's all that you need. Then later on, only 1,000, and later on, 250, and then none. He did it step by step. Mm-hmm. And we started saying, hey, that's not what we came in here. We're supposed to have freedom because we were used to that before Batista. Was democracy, and you can express yourself against Batista for Batista, nobody, but then Batista started and Castro do the same thing. Castro come in, Cuba takes things funny, and then we says, we got out of the Guatemala to Guatapeor. So we got out of a bad thing to a worse thing.
Yeah.
And that's the saying that, and very liked when you say Guatemala, Guatapeor, you cannot say that.
Of course, yeah. No, we'll go in the next time we meet. We'll go deeper. I have 2 questions I want to just wrap up with today. One is, amongst your friends, Papi, and your community, would you consider yourself a leader amongst your friends and peers back then at that time?
Oh yes, I was, because in the Instituto, when I had to join, when Castro speak in the classroom, the teacher bring a note that you had to sign that you approve Castro speak, and I got up. Said, no, I don't want to sign this. And that's why they signified me. And behind me, all the other people, half of the class would walk out. So I was considered. And then somebody put a bomb one day, one of the restrooms. They called all the students and were in the plaza there. And this guy that used to be my friend and we used to listen to American music, he now was very like military, and they started talking about, and then he pointed at me and said, guys like this, pepillos, they call them pepillos like this, the teenagers that are perfumed all and all that, are the people responsible for doing that. And everybody started pulling away from me. So I told him, why don't you get out of there, come down and tell me in front of my face to see how I'm going to beat the shit out of you. That day then is when they told my dad, he either joined the Communist Party, he leave, or we put him in jail and we might have to execute him. And then that's when I had to leave the country. I couldn't go to school anymore. That was my last day in school there. Very terrifying when everybody leave you alone and you're there. But I say, hey, it was so, people don't understand the fear but a lot of security that you don't have clear path in life. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, no, there's a whole lot to talk about, Papi. I think I'd love for you to share the phrase. You told me this phrase years ago, and it really stuck with me. It's that phrase that you have about that sentiment of feeling abandoned by the revolution, being for it first, and then it abandoning you. How is that phrase in Español?
La revolución nos traicionó. We were betrayed by the revolution. They used us, and then They have all the alternative motive that they never told people until they got full power. But that's what we say, la revolución nos abandonó. Yeah, we were supporting of the revolution. What I remember too is when I went to this friend of mine that we were raised together, and now he become number 2 in charge of the G2, which is the repression police. And before I leave, I was ready to leave, and I was in my bicycle. I went to see him to tell him that I was leaving the country. And I said, "You are betraying the revolution." I said, "No, the revolution betrayed me." Because it was Juan Antonio Marquez, and it's a good friend. I mean, I got pictures with when we were exercising and things like that. Then 3 months after I left, he went to apprehend somebody, and he got shot and died. And it hurt me because he was a good friend. I mean, we went out for years every night, and we used to dance American music at 1:00 was the 1:00 rock and roll station in Cuba. And we used to go in his house, and 3 or 4 or 5 of us get together and dance and things like that. And it was, the revolution came in and split families and friends and everything. It was sad because it didn't need to be. It could have been the greatest revolution ever.
Thank you all for listening and tuning in to the 4th episode of Nuestro Papi, Madurando. As you can tell, Papi is definitely growing up and things around him are really starting to change.